Well, hey, hello there, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And to start off, I just wanted to say if you find that the bottom dropped out, that it didn't come back, whatever the situation may be, it's not ideal or even worse. For me, the natural thing is to have this cloud hanging over me for a little while, and I feel like I'll wake up the next day and feel like I did something really wrong. That's unfortunate because in my case, I tend to think stuff out. I tend to plan ahead. I plan to try and do well, do a good job, follow through. But it doesn't, just due to the nature of our domain, it doesn't always work out, you know? So it's important to not hold ourselves to some impossible standards, and if it does come back less than ideal or a complete disaster, that we are able to let go of that and realize, hey, well, you know what? One of the tricks that I can play with my brain is it going to matter tomorrow? Is it going to matter in a week? Is it going to matter in a month or a year? And usually the answer is no. I mean, yeah, maybe you wasted some time, maybe you wasted some money. So the important thing is to live and learn, and we don't beat ourselves up. Now, I'm not coming from you from the top of the mountain. Certainly, when this thing is on, stuff seems to be more relevant. Like if someone's going to see it, it's weird. But I'm certainly not saying like, oh, I've got this all figured out. One of the things you need to do, it's not that at all. It's what I need to do. What I need to do is, if I go through with the procedure, process, project, whatever it may be, and the results are less than satisfactory or a complete disaster, which was the case recently, it's very difficult for me to not beat myself up about it. So that's something that I really need to work on. And by work on, I mean just keep that in the forefront of my mind. Don't set yourself up either. Consider, hey, there's a chance that this isn't going to work out for the best. And be ready to cope with that in a healthy way. So today we're really here to talk about a video that I recently watched. I moved my computer setup into another room, and I was looking for something to put on as background noise. Now this video is 3 months old. It's old news. I just watched it. It had been popping up off in my feed, and I never really clicked on it. I think because of it looked like a really well-produced professional thing that, like, maybe there was some money behind this. And sure enough, the video itself was made by the New York Times. Now, after I watched the video, I went and I looked it up because I had considered, well, there's a good chance that if the New York Times made this video, that there would also be a print article. And I may be wrong, but it appears to me that there is not a print article about this story, which to me, it almost seems, I mean, okay, for one, I'm not some media expert. I know I've heard that the New York Times is what it is. And we should take all things from the big media with a grain of salt if we're looking for truth. The narrative that we're being fed through these organizations, it's at best it is just that. It's a narrative. It's somebody making some shit up and saying, hey, this is what's going on. Now, this one is a little bit baffling to me because it appears to reveal some stuff that I had a strong gut feeling about as being untrue, and they're saying, hey, you've been handed a line here. It is not true. So while at the same turn, they also reveal that there's a mirror truth, a mirror side story that was attempted to be buried from the eyes of the public and the media, and even the government. This was like kept on the DL. And that own truth mirrors reality fairly closely. So it's really a bizarre story. When we see that there is a video that is aimed, it's targeted at somebody like me who watches Tyler, secure team. Did they get to him? He disappeared. He had health issues. Now, he does voiceovers on video content that people send him. So I don't see how, I really don't think they got to Tyler, like they put him in some camp for a couple of years and fed him beans and dry chicken, and then let him out and gave him a bunch of money and said, "You're under our control now. You're only going to do stories that we hand you." I really doubt that that's the case. I think Tyler might have gotten a little burned out. Would be more realistic. Now, if you're a real straight shooter, alpha male type guy, maybe you're not as wishy-washy and second-guessing yourself as I am, because I always smelled a rat about this person that we're going to be talking about, this person that got called out in this video. Let's just pop over. I feel that perhaps this person was picked because of their record, because of their military service, and because he fit the model that they needed as an actor. So this person here, when they wheeled him out, I immediately smelled a rat. And taking a look at photographs of this guy, we see like this type of person looks like a bully. This face that he makes with his furrowed brow looks really rehearsed. Anyone that wears this backwards flag, maybe you could explain that to me. It seems to me that they are just getting cocky and they are just smacking us in the face with it. This inverted flag. This kind of intimidating stance, but oh hey, I've got tattoos. I'm not a pasty old white guy. I'm Luis Elizondo. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. This field is filled with the bodies of his enemies. He's making this face. He knows the truth because he is big man Lou Elizondo. Look at that. He's got the gun show is open for business. And he's practiced his squinty-eyed smile. If you dig deep into your box of Lucky Charms, you may just find yourself with the lucky prize of this sort of magical goatee that he sports. This helps to ward off evil chickchees, demonic cats, evil Gutens and Geetens of all sizes, and also summons tic-tac shaped spacecraft. Now, this particular video, the New York Times UFO Lie is the title of it, is the subject of what I'm ranting about. And in this video, they reveal how Elizondo is a complete fraud. Back in 2017, there was these press conferences that I and a lot of other people paid attention to. It was the Three Doors 185 guy, and he claimed that he had figured out the UFO conspiracy and he was going to go public. So a bunch of government officials contacted him, and instead of doing that, they all joined forces and created a company called To the Stars Academy, which is a science and entertainment for-profit organization. And they came out, Lou Elizondo, they introduced Lou Elizondo. And Lou said, in the past years, I have been the head of a high level, top secret government military advanced aerial threat identification program, and I am here to tell you UFOs are real. Now, again, like when you see Pepe Le Pew, immediately I was like, this guy's a puppet. And we need puppets. As a kid, we all had our favorites, clowns and puppets. As adults, I guess it's the same, because we've got guys like Lou Elizondo. As people researched this, people like reporters went after this story, they began to note that this organization was an alphabet agency, AATIP, I think it was, ATIP, and they kept noticing that every time this thing came up, it had a slightly different name and that the dates didn't jive. Then there's also this thing about the money. There was a $22 million contract that supposedly, the government will set aside these funds when they're going to do something like this, and then all these companies bid for it. One of them is awarded and they win the contract. So there was none of that either. It was like none of the stuff that should exist to back the story up did. And what eventually was revealed, that truth is stranger than fiction, there was in fact a real organization, because in October of 2021, there's a guy named George Knapp, and you may be familiar with George Knapp if you've watched a lot of UFO content, or even a little bit. He was the guy that worked closely with Bob Lazar, So, depending on how you feel about that, which is really a tough read, it's like, I really want to believe in Bob Lazar's story, but it almost seems a little convenient to me. There's others, if you kind of dig around, you hear about, well, this guy came out with this information and they ended his life. He was shot on his porch by sheriff's deputies, came up and just killed him. There was another, and like, to me, anytime something like that happens, I'm thinking, well, maybe that guy was onto something. There was another guy who lived near a military base who somehow had been receiving some transmissions, and he ended up going down this incredible wild goose chase story about aliens involving the government, and it turned out that guy was just manipulated by an actual government agent. So these types of stories, they take this sort of thing out of the realm of campfire stories into something that you could seriously consider as being real. Personally, I don't need a guy like Lou Elizondo in my life, and I certainly don't need Oblique Spheroid or Bill Nye, the science guy, dancing around with his dance troupe, My Vagina, singing these songs about transsexualism. And again, not to infuriate anyone or say that I'm up on some kind of a moral pedestal judging people. That stuff just makes me really uncomfortable. And I don't understand why Bill Nye, the science guy, has a dance troupe that's singing about their junk. That doesn't seem to be very scientific to me. And again, I will repeat one more time, when they wheeled this Lou Elizondo out, I had a strong feeling that something, everything wasn't fine in the old town tonight. So this is a testament. I should have been brave. I should have said something. This Luis Elizondo, get out of here, with his Lucky Charms beard and his like concerned furrowed brow face that he makes, his American flag and the gun show. Like, get out of here, man. Could we get some, please? Check, waiter. 2021 October, George Knapp does this book called Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. A skinwalker is it's like an Native American legend of a spirit that can transcend flesh. It's a shapeshifter, so it could appear as an animal, appear as a human being, whatever form it wanted. Now, James Lekatsky was the director of OSAP, and this is Advanced Aerial Weapons System Application Program. And on paper, it was a $22 million contract. So this is like OSAP gets turned into ATIP, and then we get Magically Delicious over here, Elizondo, dancing around, doing the puppet show. Oh, look at me over here. UFOs are real. We've got this footage, which turned out some of that stuff that they showed was birthday balloon. So this Lekatsky guy was working with the Senator Reed, and there's this place called Skinwalker Ranch. And it's in the desert somewhere. Forgive me for not having the details, but there was a real lot of supernatural phenomenon, and they set up some cameras and microphones, and they had scientists go down there, and a lot of really weird stuff, unexplainable stuff that points toward supernatural activity. So in reality, on paper, OSAP was supposed to be sitting, a think tank where they would sit and say, okay, we're 40 years in the future. Based on today's technology, what are the weapon systems that are foes? What will we be up against? Okay, so that's on paper what they were supposed to be doing. And this James Lekatsky was hiding everything they were really doing from everyone, including all of his cronies in the government. So nobody knew what was going on. He was running Skinwalker Ranch, and they were doing all of this supernatural research there. And that, as that pertains to UFOs, because they were looking for fairies, they were looking for skinwalkers, they were looking for werewolves, they were looking for dino beavers, giant beavers, they were looking for birdmen, they were looking for winged shrimp, and they were looking for good deals on the 99-cent menu. Actually not, because they had a $22 million contract. And this it ran its course fairly quickly, because by 2012, the entire project was ancient history, was done. It was terminated because the suits in Washington stamped it as non-fruitful. It just, whatever research they were doing there, it didn't produce any viable results as far as a $22 million contract. So again, we see this puppet show. And it's interesting enough, because it's like, why is this video popping up? And I'm not some big UFO guy. I'm a general conspiracy theory admirer from a distance. I want to know what's out there. You know, I know about Tartaria, mud flood. They blew up the Georgia Guidestones, the fake monoliths that appeared in the desert. All of this stuff, I stay up on it, but I'm not running around over at Godlike Productions or Gaia. I'm not paying money to, what's his name? I'm not going out to the desert and through pure light and energy summoning UFOs to appear to me. And I want truth. I want something I can latch onto that makes sense, that would explain some of the things that are unexplainable and real phenomenon. But the government, the powers that be, have played this shell game and this distraction. Like from 2017 to now 2022, we've been told one story, and that's UFOs are real. Here's your Lou Elizondo. Blink 182 guy is building his own UFO to the Stars Academy. There was announced, and it was supposed to be they were going to be the conduit to release all this information that had been held secretive. It was like, we're going to tell you the truth now. You're going to find out about Roswell and all these other weird stories that you hear where UFOs have supposedly crashed, or they dug some stuff up. Who knows? That's what Lazar said. Lazar said this stuff didn't necessarily come from the skies, it came from underground. Which, at that point, if it's coming from underground, I'm thinking, this is Vimanas. This is ancient technology that Tartaria, or the past, as we have been led to believe that we are the only advanced civilization that's been here. I'd be quicker to believe that than little green men coming from some other distant galaxy. Because if you know about the Drake equation and the idea of how an advanced civilization would eventually destroy itself through weaponization, there is a real small area in that timeline when they would be advanced enough to accomplish interstellar travel, and having that line up with the time that I'm alive, because as far as me, a decade or 100 years is not even a blink in the eye. Now, again, who knows the truth? Who knows? And let that man step up and start giving me some truth, because all I know is that the stuff that I've read off of this paper and this video that I watched, none of that is true. I'm having a hard time believing the OSAP, this story coming out of the New York Times. And why is it that when I looked at this, there is no print article? That they're targeting a guy like me, a guy, who I'm not a tinfoil, I don't have the tinfoil hat on, but I made one and it's sitting over in the corner. I'm looking at it. So I would encourage you to check this video out. It's a New York Times video. It's on the New York Times YouTube channel. It is called The UFO Deception. This here on the left is James Lukatsky. He actually kind of looks a little bit like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. And then we got, what's his name? Lou. And I got to tell you that, man, the media embraced that guy. They loved him. Just like they love Oblique Spheroid. What's his name? The actor. Not Morgan Freeman. What's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. That guy. And I know it's like you're not supposed to say, like, boy, I hate that guy. But he just rubs me the wrong way, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And what you should do is look up, what was his name? The comedian that just died, Norm Macdonald. There's a Norm Macdonald tweet. And it's a response to a snarky comment that a Neil deGrasse Tyson tweet. And Norm Macdonald dunked him so eloquently and so gracefully in a really positive statement. So I would encourage you to check that out. Definitely take a look at this video. And I'd say if you're up on this stuff, you probably already know about it. But you might want to take a look at the source, which is the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon book. And this brings up this question of George Knapp. Why was he the guy that brought Bob Lazar into our vocabulary, and now he's bringing even more apparent truth? So I'm undecided about all this. I can't come out and say, well, the official narrative now that the New York Times is bringing us through George Knapp and James Lukatsky is that OSAP was a reality, but there is documentation. There is government hard copy paper showing this $22 million budget. So it seems legit, which, man, at this point it almost makes it seem more suspicious. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to think? So maybe you can help me out with that. Leave some comments. Definitely check out the video, you guys. I'm sure you probably have some interest. I'm sure everyone does. Anybody that's watching YouTube has seen some of these videos. And while we all may have opinions on it, there is truth. And it certainly is appealing to think that you know the truth. And I'm not ready to commit to saying that. But what I will say was, in my spirit, I strongly had this feeling about that guy, that puppet. And it appears I was right. Which doesn't really make me feel any better. You know what I mean? Take care of yourselves, hug your pets, and peace.